What is up, you guys? This is MiniSuperHeroes Today, and continuing on with my MCU countdown to Avengers Endgame, I'm going week by week through every MCU movie in chronological order of release, showing you a custom and regular minifigure showcase from every MCU movie in order. And we've reached Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Man, this is one of my favorite MCU movies. It's in my top 5, and I just love this cast of characters. My favorite character, of course, is Ego, played by Kurt Russell, who is my all-time favorite actor of any movie series or anything. He's just my favorite, so for him to be a Marvel character, much less the amazing Ego, of course I love this movie. Now, we're going to go ahead and dive in and show you these figures. There are some just regular figures here, there's some purist custom figures, but in any case, let's not take any more time, and let's dive in and start taking a look at these figures, starting with the main man himself, Star-Lord. Okay, so up first we have Star-Lord. Now, Star-Lord, of course, is the main guardian of the Guardians of the Galaxy, so it just makes sense that we start with him. And I went with this version because, if you remember, the movie opens with them fighting that big squid monster, and they're wearing these gray, like, power pack things here, which when you flip on the back, Lego designed the jet booster, or like the jetpack part, to be just one of these gray drapes around the neck here, a 1x1 black stud, and then a binocular piece that clips right on there. Now, I always thought it was a little bit weird because you can almost barely see that there's some space there where the binoculars don't quite fit on perfectly, so I always thought that that was interesting. I mean, it's not like that's an illegal move or anything, it just doesn't fit on there perfectly. But anyways, the only upgrade that I made, of course, is using the Owen Grady head from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, because I really like having these big long sideburns, and then the mustache with this face here, and then I just kept the same hair, same torso, legs, and everything else from this version of Star-Lord. This version came with the Milano from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and then just flipping the head around here, you can see that he's got an angry face on that side. But in any case, that's our first version of Star-Lord from this movie. Alright, next up we've got Star-Lord, and I just used the Guardians 2/Infinity War jacket. I used the Rocket Raccoon polybag arms. I used these legs from one of the Star Wars engineers. I just really like the black pants there. I think that it gives a nice baggy look. And then I used the Guardians 2 version of Star-Lord's helmet. It's interesting that the Infinity War version didn't come with a helmet for Star-Lord, but in any case, we got it here, so it worked pretty well. Next up, we've got Star-Lord in his trench coat, which to do this version, I used the torso from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Infinity War, because the Lego sets use the same torso. I used the head from Owen Grady from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, because as I said in the last segment, it's just Chris Pratt. I used the regular hair here. I used the legs from the Guardians Volume 1 Star-Lord, because I really liked that it had that trench coat printing on there already, and it just makes the jacket look elongated. I used the same guns, and then on the arms, I used the Rocket Raccoon Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 polybag arms. I actually have that polybag right here. I picked this up at a con not too long ago. So for those of you that watch a lot of my videos and see me use these arms pretty often, this is what that polybag looks like. So you can see I paid $8 for it, but I actually talked them down to $5 because it was on a Sunday. But in any case, that's this. So that's Star-Lord, and we'll move on to our next character. Next up, we have Gamora from the opening scene, which, interestingly enough, they used the same exact torso from Star-Lord, I guess. They were similar enough. You can see that they're side by side here. They didn't change anything. They just look exactly the same. But in any case, it's a really nice figure. I think that they did a really good job with it. So now that this version of the torso doesn't have the jetpack on, you can actually see that it was printed on here anyways. So if you don't like that neck contraption that we just saw on Star-Lord a little bit ago, you can see what it looks like without it. In any case, they used the same legs. Lego got lazy for this one, I guess. Just some green hands and the Gamora hair and torso from Volume 2. So I didn't make any updates here. Really no purpose to update it because it looked fine and movie accurate as is. But I do have another version of Gamora, which sadly I didn't really make any updates to, but, well... So the next version of Gamora is just the Infinity War version. Once again, no updates, but she did kind of have this trench coat at one point, and I'm kind of sad that we never got a classic MCU Gamora, that is, from Volume 1, that had the dark shirt underneath. If you'll remember, the only Gamora that we got from Volume 1 had the Ravager torso, and I mean, it looked fine, but as a completist, it would have been nice to have a Gamora with the black suit that she wore for the most of Volume 1. But anyways, we're not talking Volume 1, we're talking Volume 2. So, let's get back to it. Next up, we've got my personal favorite Guardian, Rocket Raccoon, and I didn't make any upgrades here because it's just too hard to upgrade this figure. You know, there's not a ton of small legs with printing on them, so especially those with gray that would match Rocket anyways. Nothing you can really do for the arms, and the head is, you know, the only head that we've really gotten. Now, if you look at the original Guardians Volume 1 Rocket, you can see that the mold is actually different. I talked about this in my Guardians 1 showcase, but on the most recent Rocket from Infinity War in Volume 2, he's got this smile printed on, and on the Volume 1 Rocket, you can actually see that his mouth is molded into the head. You can see the difference there when they're side by side, but in any case, I didn't make any upgrades here. Like I said, just wanted to show off the figure, and the guns are both from the Ravager attack with Taserface from the Volume 2 sets. So it's a great looking figure and no upgrades, but we've got some upgrades coming up, so stay tuned. Alright, so next up we've got the two baby Groots, which obviously can't really be customized, but I'll show them off anyways. We have the regular Groot, who's not wearing anything, and then the Groot that they put in the little Ravager uniform. And just to show you here, something interesting is the hands are actually the perfect size of a clip, so you can actually have like one of the Guardians hold Groot. I don't know if you guys knew that. Both hands work the same way. So you can do this either way you want, but in any case, those are the two Groots. There's no printing on the back of either one of them. Well, I guess there's some red printing on that one, but, you know, it's more paint than print, if that makes sense. But in any case, those are the baby Groots. And if we're gonna have Baby Groot, we've gotta have Teen Groot too, because he made his first appearance in the post-credits scenes of Guardians Volume 2. Of course, this is the Infinity War figure for the most part, but you know, we saw that little teaser of him at the end of Volume 2. So I've always loved the back printing on this figure, but the upgrade that I made here is I used the legs from the Party Horse guy from the collectible minifigure series, because I like that he had brown legs with just a little bit of printing on the toes there, as you can see. I think it adds just a little bit of depth for the figure, and there's not a ton of brown plain pieces that would match his tree look that also have printing, so I didn't have a ton of options here, but I tried to be creative and use what I could. Next up, we have Drax from Guardians 2, or excuse me, I'm sorry, this is the Infinity War version. Here's the Drax from Volume 2. So, to build Drax from Volume 2, I didn't make any upgrades from the regular version. Feel like I'm saying that a lot here, but these figures were just so great. He's got these great blue legs here, some awesome printing on the arms and torso with all his tattoos, some printing on the back of the head there, and then two knives. Now, I will say that if you have the original Volume 1 Drax, you can always switch the heads out if you don't want him looking so angry all the time, but I think that the tattoos on the Volume 2 version of Drax look just a little bit better than the versions on the Volume 1 version. Let me know which one you like better, and we'll keep rolling on to the next figure. Next, we have Mantis, and I made a lot of upgrades to this figure. So the only pieces that are from the original Mantis are the torso, the head, and then the hair, and I always like pointing out when I put Mantis in my videos that mine is actually messed up. You can see the flesh-colored antenna here, but look how the flesh color kind of bled into the black of the hair there right at the top. Just kind of interesting. It's not like it's more valuable for that or anything. I just always like to point that out. But anyways, the upgrades I made are these arms, which are from the Poison Ivy from the Lego Batman movie sets. And what I had to do is take the eraser method and erase the Poison Ivy printing off the arm. You can see there's just a little bit left there, and I left that intentionally so that you can see, you know, that there was something there at one time. Just paying a little homage to a figure that once was. And then speaking of that Poison Ivy, I also used the little skirt from her too, but I folded it in the leg. I guess leg pegs would be it. I don't know. Peg leg is like a pirate, but leg peg is like what's inside of a figure. I might have just made up that word. But anyways, if that becomes a thing for the Lego community, you can say you heard it here first. But I folded it in a way so that the skirt only came on the sides and the back, so you can see it sticks up just a little bit right here, but it's fine. It doesn't bother me. And then the legs are from the Lego Ninjago movie version of Lloyd. So I like that we've got some black, some green, and all kinds of complementary colors going on here, and I think it works out really well. He may have been your father, boy, but it wasn't your daddy. We've got Yondu up next, and I only made some minor upgrades here because I gotta be honest, Yondu is in my top 10 Lego Marvel figures of all time. He just looks so great, and I love the shade of blue that they used for the head and the hands. So the only upgrades I made are, once again, using the Rocket Raccoon polybag torso arms there, and the rest looks great. I love the printing on the legs to make him have the long trench coat, and it looks awesome. And to throw it back to my Volume 1 version, you know, of course, in Volume 2, he had the prototype Finn. So if you can get this red mohawk piece, which I got from my Lego store where they have the Build-A-Figure thing. If you can get this red piece here, it's a nice version of Yondu's mohawk from the first movie and the beginning of the second one before he gets his prototype Finn. So speaking of his prototype Finn, let's move on to our next figure. Next up, we've got the lovable Kraglin, who is played by Sean Gunn, aka James Gunn's brother. Pretty cool. So for this version of Kraglin, I just used the torso and legs from the full version of Star-Lord from Volume 1, and then I used the head from that version too, and then I used this spiky brown hair, which has come in many, many places over the years, but I thought that that looked pretty good. And also, kind of just to be funny, you can take the fin from the Volume 2 prototype Finn and give him that post-credits scene from when he uses the arrow and he accidentally hits Drax in the chest. So if you wanted to be funny, you could do that little upgrade there too. I think that that's pretty fun, don't you? Next up, we have Taserface. And once again here, guys, it's hard to upgrade these figures because they just look so good out of the box. But he's got this long ponytail here, this purple head, a nice big black beard here, a great torso, and just, yeah, no upgrades from the actual set itself. But it's a great looking figure. And since this showcase is customs and regular figures, here's another regular figure for you. Next up, we've got Howard the Duck, who showed up for the first time in Guardians Volume 1 and made a reappearance in Guardians Volume 2. He showed up when they go to that scene where Yondu and the Ravagers are hanging out at that, like, casino club type place, and we briefly see him talking to a woman at the bar. So, to build my version of Howard, I used Donald Duck's head, his tail, and his white hands. I used Captain Hook's red arms with this little white fluff here to show that he's got some fur around his hands, and then I used the clown torso from the collectible minifigure series with some short red legs. So it's a really simple figure to build, but it's a fun one nonetheless. Next up, we have Volume 2 Nebula, and you guessed it, no real updates here, but the torso I always liked because it's so beat up and battered, and I think that it's a nice little contrast to the Volume 1 version of Nebula. The printing's very, very similar, but I like that it shows that she's gone through some crazy times between Volume 1 and Volume 2. So that's Nebula. You can see the back here, some more damage there, and it's a good looking figure that's really, really hard to update. So let's keep moving on. So next up we have Aisha, and I always like this figure with the gold face, the gold hair, then she's got an angry gold face on the back too. Pretty cool. And I've just always thought that this is a great figure. One cool thing is if you have this figure, I take the legs from Aisha and put them on the Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp because I like that gold trim with the gold suit here. And back in the day, I actually used to use Aisha's body, taking off her head, of course, for my purist Wasp before we got an official Wasp. So just some fun trivia there for you before we move on to our last two figures. Next up, we have Sylvester Stallone's character, Stakar Ogord, maybe if I could actually say it. But to build this character, I used Bruce Wayne's face from the Lego Batman movie, Superman's hair, Batman vs. Superman going on here. Then I used Superman's torso from BVS, actually, just flipped around, because I like this design on the front here with these lines coming up. Then I used this orange shoulder piece from Ninjago, or excuse me, not Ninjago, Nexo Knights. And then I used the legs that I've used from the Lego Batman movie accessory pack, which have black boots on the bottom and blue on the top in a dual molded style. So that's Stakar Ogord. And I'm not generally a guy that saves the best for last, but in this case, I sure as heck am. This is Ego, aka Kurt Russell, aka my all-time favorite actor as a Marvel villain right here before us. So to build this, I used this gray hair from the Ninjago series. I can never remember this character's name, guys. Let me know in the comments below. I used Ben Kenobi's head. I used this dark brown cape from Star Wars. I think it's from Mace Windu or Kit Fisto or something, but it doesn't really matter. Just need a dark brown cape. Then I used the legs from Lor San Tekka from Star Wars The Force Awakens, and then the torso is actually the Dino Tracker. Can you believe this? From the Lego collectible minifigure series. It's this awesome torso with the little bar running across here, the little sash, but when you flip that around, man, it looks exactly like Ego, and I've always loved that. So then I just got some dark tan arms there with some tan hands to match, and I gotta be honest, guys, this is one of my first purist customs over on Instagram Instagram that my followers went wild for. So this is one of those figures that I always look at and I'm really proud of because it really spurred my journey as a purist customizer. So that's the figure here, and let's zoom out to take a look at everybody, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright guys, and with that, we're gonna go ahead and end this showcase. Man, like I said, I love this movie. It's just such a great film, and it's in my top 5 Marvel movies right now. Well, when I say right now, I mean as of everything that we've seen. Endgame might bump it out, but hey, we'll find out here in just a few short weeks. So, drop a comment below, let me know which of these figures are your absolute favorites, and let me know if you plan on building any of these. Next week is a video showcase that I know you guys have been waiting a long time for, and that is Spider-Man Homecoming. I'm really excited for next week. We're gonna have some great customs coming up, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next video. If you liked what you heard, feel free to click that subscribe button for more LEGO content coming in the near future. And until next time, thanks for tuning in to today's video, and until next time, build on.